Is there anything?
I will call the Finance Committee meeting for January 29th to order. Roll call, we have Alder Steuer. Thank you so much for standing in.
Okay.
Alder Galvin and Alder Dorf are here. We have a approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alder Galvin, second
Second.
by Alder Steuer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, you can go on. All right,
Anna, make sure she got her.
well, we'll start regular business.
I'm down there at the meeting.
Request for approval to award a contract for law enforcement tires
What?
for GBPD to the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company for $53,390.
Okay.
Like $3,900 and we've been under, oh no, so 25 or? 25, yeah.
You can, yeah, because you're supposed to, which I was told when I was
Right.
signing in, so
Okay, well,
you have
I
to
just
follow
sat
the
in
rules.
for a little bit.
All right.
I was
Thank
gonna be
you so
home.
much.
Okay, thank you too.
Do you just want to do an, or, do you have your computer?
No, because I thought
Okay.
I'd be home.
That's okay, we can do
I gotta wait for
voice
Chris to get
vote.
Yeah.
We can just do voice vote.
We'll do voice vote.
You need
Oh,
a packet.
and she'll give you
Oh,
a
here.
packet.
Here you go.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Nope,
That's
nope.
all right.
What happens?
Yes,
I've
can't
been
do
waiting.
anybody. All right, staff, tires, let's hear it.
Traditionally, we have purchased tires off of the state contract, and typically, we purchase them on an as-needed basis, and so they've always been under $10,000. The police department, because of the tight budget situation, wanted to see if we could do any better. And so we put out a bid for the entire year of 2019. We got 4 responses and I think 6 or 7 different options. Goodyear Tire and Rubber was the only vendor that responded in compliance with our request for a 12-month fixed price guarantee. And so we're recommending the award to Goodyear Tire and Rubber on that basis. Technically,
Sounds like
the
we'll
other
save some
vendors
money.
only would honor the prices through March 31st,
Excuse me.
which is a traditional price change over date. We will save about $1,000 off of the existing state contract, so we did save some money, and that is a recommendation of both the police department and the purchasing staff.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I just got a
Oh, you have a
question.
question, okay.
And not so much about tires, but I guess looking at, we saved $1,000 out of what would have been about $54,000, $55,000. And I understood that the state contract system was supposed to be pretty good at keeping prices suppressed and having it out there. And plus, when you put out bids, you get a lot more response. Would it be worth our while, or is it too labor intensive to do this on anything of, say, a certain, like, we're looking for anything, say we drew a line, anything over $50,000, not only would we look at the state, but also put out a request for separate bids?
We've done that quite often with IT.
Okay.
There are a lot of items on IT, like servers, that we quite often beat the state contract.
Okay, so we're already doing this?
We do that
Okay.
on a, yes, case-by-case basis.
All right, good enough. Thank you so much. Motion to approve item 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 2, consideration with possible action on a request by the City Assessor's Office to cancel certain property taxes.
All right, that's gonna be me. As you're gonna see, I think you have 5 examples or 6 examples in your packet. In one case or another, they were put on the tax levy and for various reasons now have been canceled. Once the tax bill goes out, then we get the phone call saying, you shouldn't have got a bill. Because the building was raised, it was flattened by then, that time, whoops, we were in the wrong municipality, or the material, the machinery is kept in a different municipality. So for one reason or another, they come back and the assessors go through all the due diligence to make sure and verify the information. So in this case, there are 6 of them that we are looking to have rescinded.
All right.
Where does that money
Makes
come
sense.
I mean,
It ends up
have
being
we
just.
collected already? We haven't really collected it. Or is
We
it
haven't
part of our
collected it.
budget?
Well, that's not true. In some cases, if somebody's already paid their bill,
Right.
we turn around, once it's approved next week, or next time when council does approve it, we will turn around and we will cut them a refund check. If it has not been paid, then we send information over to the Brown County and they will rescind it.
Okay.
Well, whatever. Someone takes care of it and they remove that receivable.
And then,
What it is that it does end up being an expense to the 101 fund because we built the budget assuming these dollars
Assuming
were
those were
coming in.
there.
This was
Okay.
part of 2019 budget, assuming it was coming in. So
how much of our are we
this is
short?
going to be $14,502 is what the impact of this is.
For all of them?
For all three, all six of them together.
Oh,
14,000, yes,
okay.
in
All right.
total.
I
Correct.
misinterpreted.
Nope,
Okay.
it's $14,000 worth of taxes, and that's full taxes. So that is the full mill rate of $23.38. The city portion is only $9. So
Right.
when we rescind it or refund it, we actually go through and we make sure that they get all their money back. Then in October, we have to send it to the state. The state determines whether or not the other taxing jurisdictions have to share in that, the refund. And in most cases, they will. And so then in February of 2019, we'll get the money back. So it's an ongoing thing. It's just the process.
Sure.
Because we
Yeah.
have throughout the whole year to collect it and rescind it or refund it. And so that's just the process.
Okay.
So really, for us being, it'd probably about a hit to the city of Green Bay, about $6,000 on our mill rate, $9 mill rate.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve. Yep, sorry, Mark.
Could I ask
Sure,
a question,
go ahead.
Diana?
Sure.
Thank you, Chair. Diana, just a quick question, and I know this is probably a state issue, but, some years ago, we had a house that was destroyed by a car hitting it a
Okay.
week after January 1st. Is it still set up that if you live in your house for 1 or 2 days in a month of January, you still have to pay taxes for the entire year?
Whatever the value is of the whatever the next year.
Okay,
Yep.
that's just a simple question. I know, January 8th, they lost their house, and they had to pay taxes on, not only on that house, but the next house they got. And it's a state thing. That's something I think that needs changing, sorry. Thank you.
Trustee. All right.
Motion to approve item 2.
By Alder Galvin, motion approved. Second by Alder LaFave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.
All right, the next item has really no impact to the budget. However, state statute says the way you post a budget means the way, if you're going to make any changes to it, you have to take a resolution to change it. So when we post our revenues in our budget book, we have it by line item when we tell you exactly where it's going to, the revenue is going to end. Economic Development has done a reorg and a reorganization, and we are moving the asset inspections and moving the economic opportunity and moving Pam did the changes. But when the day is over, we're moving it from this account to another account, and it's just within the budget. But again, it's because of the way we did a public notice and the way we presented, the way the revenues are going to be, versus zero impact. It's moving it from one account to another. So next year, when you see it in your budget book, it'll show up in that new account instead of the old state statute. We did it as a public hearing, our budget, so we literally have to get a resolution to just move it internally. We'll move it in our general ledger system.
And this happens every year, or is this just something special this year?
Well, Economic Development did this reorg a few years ago as well, but it's not very common for the city to have to do this. We are going to look to do another one later for Park and Rec as well, but
It
there's
was-
zero
It was
budget
confusing because I was
impact.
like, oh, that's the same.
We're
It
moving
is
from one
like the
division
same
to
number.
another.
And again, we're
Jen.
just trying to follow state statute, so that if
Yep,
you're gonna
sure.
move it and you
I
posted it this way to the public, you told them one thing and now your book and your events, you're gonna put in your ledger a different way.
It's
It's just to be
there, and
really transparent.
to.
Everything
Yeah.
else
Yep,
is
so
identical.
it truly has zero impact on the
It's just
2019
this
budget.
number, the first
It's
one.
just the way they're gonna manage and have receive the revenues.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept number 3.
All right. Moved by Alder Galvin,
Second.
second by Alder LaFave to accept number 3, the resolution authorizing transfer 2019 budgeted revenues between accounts. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, consideration with possible action on requested amendments to the Claims Administration Procedure Ordinance. And I guess we were waiting for Vanessa to come back to talk about this.
So Vanessa Chop, City Attorney. So I think that the question specifically is about the drastic change from the $5,000 to the $50,000. And so one of the things that we've been doing out when we were looking at revamping the ordinance was what other communities were doing. And they're kind of all over the place as to what it is they're authorizing their personnel to do before it has to go back to council. They have some that they have limited approval authorities, such as what the city of Green Bay currently has, which is at 5,000 mark. And then there's other side of the spectrum, which is they give them complete authority and nothing has to come back because it's considered liability and should be handled administratively. This was kind of splitting the difference between those. What's unique about the city is that we have a claims committee process in place. Most communities just have their city attorney make the determination, and it's that person who is vested with the authority. Since we have the claims committee, there is a pool of people. There are 5 people, 6 people.
Just got
2 attorneys, a paralegal, risk, me.
Myself.
5 people who are going to be on that committee who are actually doing that. So this is a very different scenario where you don't have that risk of people potentially doing favors or not doing their due diligence, which is why we felt that supported it, especially because otherwise we have 5 people gathering for very, very limited ability to make any decisions.
Now, it seems to me that we have more concerns about claims that are denied than claims that are approved. That just seems in my years here. So that the claims that are approved, they're approved, there's so much backing that up. There's the insurance, a lot of times backing that up. There's all these reasons to approve. I don't have a problem with the 50,000. That said, I know Alder Weary was here last time, and he did have a very high concern about that. We suggested possibly compromise with 25,000. I'm good with 50,000. I'm fine with 50,000. But what would you say to, counterpoint to why 50 instead of 25?
Really, we're kind of just picking a number at this point, but it's creating a streamlined scenario so that we are able to get those people those checks faster.
So we're serving our public in a faster way.
Yeah.
If we give this authority. And I can't think of a time where we said no to, where we were at all concerned about a claim payment going out. More so about the ones that were denied. That's what we've usually talked more about. So I'd love the alders in the room to comment on where you're at with this.
We're talking about like the claims themselves, I mean, my.
Alder Stewart, yeah, come on
Well,
out.
like-
We're talking about allowing the claims committee to decide up to 50,000 rather than just up to 5,000.
And I heard Vanessa say it was just an arbitrary number you were picking?
Well,
15?
that's the highest number.
So $50,000 is actually,
50.
there's 2 caps under the Tort Claims Act right now. One is $250,000, which represents the number that people can claim for all of the auto liability claims. So if you're in a car accident, the cap is $250 because of the personal injury. The property damage that you run into with all the rest of with the other claims is capped at $50,000. So we'd be getting rid of those ones and leaving the high liability to the council's review.
I don't know, I mean, the 50,000 didn't seem like a bad number to me. I mean,
Seems like a good number to me.
Like I said, my concern was mostly with some of these claims that have been denied, where
Yeah.
you look and you kind of go, really? I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like you really have to have slam dunk proof in order to get something through that way. So, the 50,000 is okay for me.
Okay. Alder LaFave.
I don't know if I have any opinion either way. I think whatever they feel is adequate. But they feel, like she said, it's
The
easier
committee.
the committee.
When
When
they can get the money to the
that
people
they-
faster.
What they want to, how they want to operate. And the amount that they want to operate with.
Okay. I mean, we'll vote on it at council.
And it-
Alder Galvin?
I was going to say, it seems to me, and I used to have a guy who used to come and talk at conferences for police officers, Gordon Graham, out of New York, and he was a loss prevention guy. And he talked about, he actually, when he was working for the California Highway Patrol as their attorney, he had the right to write out checks right at the scene, which to me makes sense in that obviously the city attorney, deputy city attorney, and paralegal, risk manager, and the finance director would certainly know if
That's-
making the payment was the right thing to do, and if they
Right.
felt that the city should deny it, obviously, they're the ones
Yeah.
more in a position to know than any of us. So
Mhm.
if they feel that paying out a claim up to $50,000 is in the city's best interest and it gets the money to the people that were affected by it that much faster, I can see no reason to oppose this.
Yeah.
Agreed. So I'll
Said-
entertain
you
a
said it more
motion.
eloquently.
Yes, I did say it very well. I will entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion that we accept the number 5,
The
the
amendments.
request,
Number 4.
requested amendments to the Claims Administration Procedure Ordinance.
Okay,
Second?
okay. Motion made by Alder LaFave, second by Alder Galvin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Great. All right, item 5. Refer to Finance Committee to create an emergency response plan for residents affected by failures in city-owned infrastructure assets for which adequate means exist to rectify, which may or may not include ordinance changes, funding solutions, or staff response time. Staff.
Yes, a large group of us met and tried to decide what would be our action forward, and the group decided that, and we did put a little memo in there in response to Alder Johnson's request, just that staff recommends that this matter be referred back to staff so that they can work with both all the city emergency manager, work with Brown County Emergency Operations Center, and explore options for disseminating educational materials to constituents. And then, based on what the law had recommended, our legal department had recommended, they said as this matter falls into the purview of the Protection and Policy Committee, they recommend that it be placed on the next Protection and Policy agenda, along with a presentation from staff regarding on what services are currently offered by the city. So that is our recommendation, but then prior to instead of just sending it there and then them asking for some information, there was a recommendation that, there's some things they're going to bring to that meeting so that when it does show up on the next agenda, it's not another wasted 2 weeks.
Right.
There are another time period that the information will be brought back to that committee.
Sounds good to me.
Well, I have some questions.
Okay.
Why P&W, not INS?
No, that was recommendation, I think, from Kristen to send it to Protection and Policy and not, instead of INS.
That was my recommendation, the reason being that the intent of the policy, the way I read it, was that it was supposed to be creating a policy for the city in general as far
Right.
as what was going to be happening in emergency situations. And that seemed to fall closer under what protection and policy was established for, rather than what INS is, which is specifically for infrastructure-related
Okay.
issues.
Because this, as I'm looking at this, it could actually be broken down into, how does the city respond? Let's use the services, just as an example, because that seems to be the hot button thing that got this whole thing rolling. Because it seems to me there was an issue about the city's response to that situation, how quickly we were able to get inspectors out there. If it wasn't for Alderdorf, it seems to me like these people would have had to wait quite a bit of time to get an inspector out there to get the electricity turned on, things like that. The picking up of the garbage, the citation that was or wasn't issued, or almost was issued.
It wasn't, rescinded. It was rescinded. It was a mistake.
Rescinded. So, but I guess what I'm getting at is this something that needs to be an ordinance as to how we treat constituents in situations similar to this or kind of related to this? And then is there something separate that we need for funding solutions, things like, that's what I'm wondering. Or is
It's
this what
not
you folks?
like, it's not establishing a fund.
Well, he's talking funding solutions. That's what it says here.
So I think until it actually, I believe that once it actually has come to the point of creating some kind of policy, or not even policy, but establishing some parameters for what a program would look like, then maybe that's when it goes to the other committees. But I think to start with, the most appropriate place would be protection and policy, because that is dealing more with the general health and wellness of the community and the policies the city's going to establish to serve those.
Okay.
Alder LaFave?
All right,
Yes, I
thank you.
believe with Alder Galvin, that there needs to be a set rules or whatever when something like this happens, because it looks like we don't have anything, right? And so You
Well,
had-
we
you
actually
had
do
to,
have
you
some.
know,
We have, something was created afterwards, right?
So,
After, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
the proper department to handle this situation and emergencies in general is the fire department. It appears that that was not actually what happened the day of, for instance, for example.
Because the people
Because-
that in the fire department were on vacation that day, because I started there, and they were not in town. So then what it was trying to piece together, you know, how to go about it. If we had a flow chart, you know, with, even as alders, as
That's what I'm saying,
advocates,
we need
you know,
something.
we can be the
That's-
advocates, or someone could be an advocate, but I think that is the process. I'm used to working with the school district. You have an advocate for the family, that in that moment of stress, they are not thinking clearly.
Right.
So someone has to kind of guide them along the path. If we had a nice well-marked path, that just would make life easier. You call this person, this number, you know, if this person is there. There could be another time when no one from the fire department that happens to be
Right.
available.
That's what I'm saying, you have to have, you had something that failed because they weren't there. So you have to have the
Although
next
they
step
had
put
never-
in there, so that, right, you have to have somebody that's gonna take.
No, I don't even know that the
Like
fire
that.
department would have really known in this situation who all to call. I really don't know that.
What
that
I
would have
can
been
say
fair.
about
I
the
was
situation
quick,
is that
yeah.
the fire department would have had they work
That's right.
routinely with so this isn't actually something that they would respond to as an emergency per se, it's not really within their purview, but they would have had the resources to get the people who could assist with that at the site. So
Right.
whether it's mobilizing members of the community, finding ways to keep them warm while they're getting things turned on and off, that's the stuff that they
Yeah, and
they
it
do.
just somehow wasn't able to happen that day. We managed to get it done. It was just difficult, so.
Finally,
Yeah.
it wasn't finally.
So I'm saying something has to be set up so that they don't fall through the cracks, you know, kind of, so that we have to have something set up so that if one part of the cog
Yeah, I
isn't
guess.
functioning, someone else has got to be there to
Right.
pick
So
it
have we
up.
rectified that? Or is this going to address that?
I believe that that has been addressed pretty heavily with staff as to who to call, and it's an issue of making sure that in the event of turnover, that institutional memory stays so that everybody remembers what needs to happen in the event of emergency.
But the
I would say
point
that right
people
now,
might be
staff's
us.
pretty confident in our ability to get
Right.
a hold of who needs to get a hold of now.
Okay. then
Right,
they
so
would have
we
to-
need to know that, right? I mean, we would need that guide, because we might be the ones that get the first call, as was the case.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
So we need to, right,
We
we
need
would
to
have
know
to
who
have that
to
whole
hand it
sheet.
off to.
Okay, so now where do we go from there if someone calls us? Okay, all of a
But even the
sudden,
water
like if you're
department,
new.
who was the first city entity,
Well, They
Well,
responded to
but they
try to
should
shut it
know
off.
that
but-
we need to call. It's to
a
start the
lot
flow
of
chart, right?
things converged on just that particular day.
Yeah.
That just made life really difficult.
Yeah.
That really probably would never happen again. There's just a
Uh,
lot of
well,
things happen at the
I
same
don't,
time.
I don't like 1,000-year events.
Okay,
No, I-
but we're doing,
Yeah,
we're
that's what
we're
we're getting
addressing
at.
it. We're addressing it.
So, but this will address this. Is that what you feel, going to protection and welfare and staff working on this, we will have whatever Brian wants covered here?
Yeah, the intent from sending it to protection policy is to make sure that whatever comes up meets those protection policy standards. It just needs a home essentially for it to be brought back to them. And since it's not dealing with financial resources with the city, that's why we thought that sending it to protection policy made more sense.
Okay.
I think so. Did you have something,
Yeah.
Alder Stark?
I mean, these are all good points. I'm on the Protection Policy Committee, so
Oh,
I'm
great.
listening,
Good,
so
good.
I'm listening right now.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, in the past, you know, we have that city guide, you know, somebody has an issue with that, you call up and da-da-da. And it's
Right.
usually
We
one
got
here,
that.
one there. But this sounded like, this was a multi-departmental type issue.
It was.
So in a
It
case
was.
like that, you know, you could call one number, but is everybody else going to be contacted? And
That's
Alder Galvin,
kind
you
of
brought
right.
up a
You
good
needed
point.
a lot of
that-
different people.
You know, if the water department, if X happens,
They
then
know
Y
who to
should
call.
be the result. But can we assume that? I don't know. I mean,
That's
you
why I
would-
think this is going to help us.
So I'm thinking in a sense this might clarify some things, and I think at protection and policy, I think we can at least put something there, and then I know you're concerned about going to INS and such, those departments would get input,
Right.
I think, into this,
Right.
so.
Yeah, and I'm on the water commission, so this would be one too, to bring it to them, to let them know, so, right. So they know where they're, when this issue would come up again, maybe?
Well,
They know what to do.
And the
who to
fact is we've
contact,
had
and
this-
who to-
Right.
Yeah, everybody,
right.
all the departments gotta know what's going on.
what do they call us? Did you say 1,000-year event?
That's what you
I
said.
mean, whatever, but I'm just saying that it doesn't happen all the time.
It happens so rarely, that's why, yeah.
Right.
it's-
Well, I mean.
And I think a lot of us have tried to reach out and help on this type of thing too, and it's, and almost too much. you know.
But we have to get it to, we haven't had a school fire in how long,
Well,
right?
Southwest did catch on fire about 6
What?
years ago.
Right.
Right.
Kids won't-
But,
Very
but,
small.
but we practice and we train for
We do,
that,
and
for that
practice and
event to
train,
happen.
right.
And
Right.
so, it's just like since post 911, the police department, hazmat, all that have gotten together, they've set up flow charts with the federal government, state government, all that.
Tabletop
kind of-
exercises.
Tabletop
Yep.
exercises. I'm not saying we gotta get that involved here,
No.
but we should have a process in place that people know what's going on, and if they're gone on vacation or homesick or whatever,
There was all
that we can
that.
have all the people fall into place that need to fall into place, so everyone understands what their responsibilities are, so our response is quick and efficient, and it serves
Is
the
that
public.
like
Yes.
through the dispatch? I mean, is that one of those
There's,
things?
there's all those things, right, absolutely.
Because-
Dispatch would be involved, I mean, let's face
So
it,
you'd have to
There's a
have.
lot
you'd
of
have-
different departments.
No, there are.
right, and
That's
so.
why, I mean, there almost has to be a central
Mhm.
disseminator, and maybe that's what the fire department is, the central.
And our committee might decide that, you know what, that's the route to go, so I'll take notes on this too.
Sure.
I think we can come up with a good
Right.
solution.
We certainly don't want another family to go through
No.
what happened here again,
Right.
so, all right.
Thanks.
Right, so we need a motion to refer.
Motion to refer to P and, what is it?
Protection and
Policy.
P
policy
and P.
committee. Are
Yep.
you making a motion?
Yep.
Okay, and I'll second.
Okay, motion by Alder Galvin, second by Alder LaFave, to refer this to the emergency response plan creation to protection policy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are in to the report of the claims committee. And did we want to go into a closed session on this, or is there?
Actually, I think this one, it could have been more for informational only,
Yeah.
because at this
Okay.
point, there's no,
It
there's,
looks-
they're really not looking for any action from you, it was really
Okay.
more informational.
Okay,
I didn't see anything of concern.
No,
No.
no, it's pretty,
I'll
pretty
make a-
short.
Yeah, I'll make a
Yeah,
motion
very
to
short.
receive and place on file.
Okay,
second.
second by Alder LaFave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And now, consideration with possible action on the request to approve the updated investment policy.
That's definitely snoozing material, but.
I know that, I know, and we,
Wow. That was
so
hard.
if you saw, our investment policy was slightly out of date. It was rather old, and so we went through and updated it. We really went through and looked at best practices, which is, we really worked close with Waukesha and Brookfield to get our investment policy up to their best practices. It also follows the state statute, which the other one had actually fallen on a state statute, it just had not been updated for a while. There are no major changes in the document, and that's why we did share the old one and the new one. Pam, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to it.
No, really, it will just fall in line with what the state statutes are, and it gives us some guidelines to follow, and even, I believe I added this section about reporting back where we're at with our investments
Right.
annually to this committee.
I think that's a good
I
idea.
think it's great.
Yep.
Right.
It's time to update.
All right.
Yep, yep.
I'll make a motion to receive and,
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry,
Go ahead.
receive and place on file.
Motion by Alder LaFave, second by Alder Galvin.
I'm not sure, it's a
Oh,
policy,
or no.
I'm not sure,
Okay,
I would
no,
probably to
just,
approve the policy.
Receive and place on file.
No,
No,
receive.
I think
Approve.
Motion to approve.
approve.
to approve the policy.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll make the motion to
I'll
approve the
second
policy.
Motion by Alder LaFave, second by Alder Galvin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And finally, report of the finance director.
I really didn't have anything on, to discuss. I think the same thing I repeated last time. We were just working on year end, trying to get, getting ready for our audit. So,
Okay. Oh, Alder Steuer.
But just at one point, I know the budget came in, I mean, as far as book, you know, and
Yes.
that you sent out. And I know we had talked
Yep.
some, you know,
Yep.
I've talked to both of you about that capital improvement program, you know, as far as citywide. Is that something that, where are we at with that?
Still in the works of collecting the information.
Right.
So I knew in January was gonna be the time I was gonna be collecting information, working to pull it together. Expect to bring it back to finance. It's still probably gonna take another month or two to pull it back together.
Okay.
And I would recommend, I would plan to bring it back prior to any kind of bonding request that I would bring to finance. I do believe that INS and Parks may be taking up the normal bonding request in their departments, but then it gets consolidated, brought to your committee. And they might be looking to do that the end of February or early March. But again, I would plan to bring the capital improvement plan to you prior to actually going out for bonding. I also, the current mayor also would prefer not to do the bonding. He would like to let it be the next person. So I don't expect that we would be doing any bonding in April. And last year, almost every year, we do it more May and June time anyways.
Moving forward
Right.
with a new mayor, granted, I guess it's up to him too to decide.
Correct, absolutely, what time of the year he wants it. I don't see us asking him on,
But
second
could the
week of April to.
Could the council, this is just for speculation, say we get a mayor that wants to do bonding later on in the year,
Mhm.
but if the council is a majority, can we dictate that we want bonding done earlier in the year so we have a better idea where we're going financially?
Sure. Yeah, I don't see why not. I would think if that'd be council wishes.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think just with this whole policy, everybody has their separate silos, it seems, in the budget. And myself personally, on council, would like to see something where we're not cherry picking in November, all these different items. But
Right,
to
that's
look
all
at
I would go through.
We need to have
we
a
did.
solid feel for it earlier in the year,
So
so.
the plan is to bring through the normal 1-year borrowing request, have it like a 5-year plan, but the first year is gonna be
Right.
what we'd be looking at for 19, and then have some detailed information, but then have the next 4 years out. And I know we're talking even longer out that, but I'm wondering if in the very first time, we can at least start with the 1 year and the 4 additional years and take a look at that. And then we can build upon it. It'll be a draft, and look for recommendations and
Exactly.
suggestions on how to enhance it so that you get more information and make better decisions.
Well, there'll
And
be a little
without
growing pains.
creating too much, we want the departments to submit the information, but we don't want them laboring over it for hours and hours.
Right.
So we
Well,
need
if-
what the right balance is so that you
Right.
guys get what you need without causing too much undue.
I mean, is there a
work.
better time of the year where you put in your requests? I mean, you got the whole year, but sometimes, it's better if we did it in October or in April, or, just trying to figure out a good time when you say, look, I think we get a handle on it early enough.
Well, with a 5-year plan,
Yeah,
with
if you
each
have it in
department
place.
going where they want to be in 5 years, and we've kind of sat down and planned out how much we're going to do every year.
Mhm.
There'll be some manipulation of that.
Of course.
But with that in place, it'll allow us to almost cherry pick the best time to bond, won't it? To get the best rates and things like that?
I don't know if you have a best time for rates, kind of depends on what's going on in the market. I just know when I was talking to Director Parks, Director Dan, he was just saying that, he puts on his list are some of the projects he plans to do for yet that year. And so once he gets his money, and so that would depend if somebody still has a project that they want to complete within the year.
Right.
That's why I think they look at it early in the year.
Because, the dynamics of having all the departments figuring what they want for 5 years, like you said, silos, if everyone decided, well, this is the year I want something big, we got to have every department come at us in 1 year looking for something big.
That's
Yet if we knew in advance, a 5-year plan looking down the road, we could spread that out possibly over different years to reduce the amount of bonding we may have to do and level it out more.
One more thing, Kathy, then I'll be done. Maybe let's like for parks, they have this whole, every year they've got many different little projects, and they're bonding. Next year, it'll be a whole completely different list of things, so I don't know. I know like with Public Works, it's trucks and equipment and different things
Sure.
like that. But with parks, it's like a little project here, a park there, something like that. And it's apples and oranges a little bit.
Unless they
but-
put it in a pool.
Yeah, which is a big thing. I'll go with
Anyway,
A.
go ahead. I'm good for now.
This kind of, too, what I had brought up with the county, they were the same thing, we were kind of all of a sudden at the big council meeting for budget and fighting over some money to put more into the human services, they needed it. And anyway, I said, I knew a little bit ahead because someone was on the committee, the health department, the committee for it. And she was telling me the problems, but the others didn't hear this, so I think when all the committees, you have your department heads coming, they need to update you, I think, at each meeting, kind of, if all of a sudden something does come up and they say, you know, we might need to do this and that in the budget. So it gives you a heads up.
You mean like the committees that you're sitting on?
Yeah, right. You have different departments that come to each committee, right?
Right, typically more DPW goes to INS and Parks.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So they can
Yeah.
kind of bring up, and to remind them, don't wait to tell us, but during the year, if you know that something's coming up, well, Parks may have something all of a sudden they hadn't planned on and something
Right.
comes up.
That's gonna
Or-
happen,
that-
right.
Right. But that's why during the year, as they come to these committee meetings, they can say, uh-oh, I think this is gonna happen. So it gives you a head up.
Well, the thing we want to avoid is bonding for squad cars. You know,
Yeah,
and-
Yeah,
for
there's
sure.
certain
And some of these
things,
other
right?
things, and if
Yeah.
That are
we can,
short term.
you know, when a fire truck runs $500,000 to $750,000, and if we get this wheel tax, when it's up and running,
It is
and we,
open.
well,
It's
but, you know what I mean, is when we start
Yeah.
having the money that we can use,
Right.
Yeah,
we want to have an idea where we're going 5 years down the road, because there's no more reason to deny redoing roads.
Right.
So what is our bonding gonna be 5 years down the road using that wheel tax money?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I think it allows DPW to better plan. Fire, police wants to build a new police station, but in the meantime, they're trying to Band-Aid the one they have,
Right.
and that's costing money.
Yeah.
So how much should they put into it? You know, if they were told in 5, can you hang on for 5 years, but what if it turns out the long-range plan is 10 years? So then the chief can plan what he wants to do to keep this current one running for the next 10 years. And so I think we need to have regular input from the department heads working with council. And I think it's just an easier way to get this process done. And I would hope, it's gonna benefit everybody in the community, tax-wise, so definitely.
I don't think that's been done before. In a 5-year, you know, I know sometimes you look out for a distance, but I don't think we've done that.
Where we do
There's been a
that.
couple
That's-
CIPs, I can see there's back in the early 2000s, there's been some plans, and then I think the work gets put together, and I'm not sure, they just don't get followed, or all of a sudden they don't continue.
That's- yeah.
So if you put all that work together and then
You don't do it.
you don't aren't following it, what you,
Right.
then the work is really not,
and before we had the wheel tax, they never knew what roads were going to be approved and what roads
No,
weren't
because
going to
it'd
be
be up and
approved. You
down.
put all the
Right.
work into it, and
And
then
then they
it would
voted
get
out the
voted out by
engineers and
us.
yes,
So,
and us
all right,
and residents
thank you
and-
for your report.
Yeah.
Would you like us to receive and place on file?
yes, because there's an item on here.
All right.
Okay.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second.
Seconded by Alder LaFave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, informational? To continue.
We haven't spent anything in the 2019 contingency yet.
Yes.
Work on that. I
No,
have some
no, no, no.
ideas.
Oh, God.
I'm kidding.
Watch out.
And the next Finance Committee meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 12th, 2019 at 4:30 PM, barring any snowstorms, right?
Right.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Alder LaFave, second by Alder Galvin to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Go in, if you remember, and leave the meeting.